So it would be better to postpone it to Tuesday.
Are you sure?
No, yes. I have to. Tomorrow is a question.
How long is your intervention, Prime
Because there
Minister?
are other 4 more speakers. There is also a deputy minister.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
All right. Honorable Speaker, honorable members. The first question to ask is, why do nations fail? Understanding why some nations grow and others fail is critical to stimulating growth. To repeat what economist Simon Kuznets, renowned for his studies, GDP measurement, used to say, there are 4 types of countries in the world: developed countries, underdeveloped countries, Japan, and Argentina. Now, many people make fun of macroeconomics, but any theory that must explain both Argentina and Japan deserves sympathy. Why, in particular, is inflation so stubbornly high in one and low in the other? Stubbornly put, in rich countries as well as in poor countries, people want change. They demand policies that will improve their lives. In Namibia, it is apparent that chief policy makers are no longer able to deliver strong and sustainable growth. Honorable members of this 7th Parliament, Daron Asimoglu and James Robinson rightly asked the question, why do nations fail, in their seminal book entitled Why Nations Fail, The Origins of Power, Prosperity and Poverty. They took an example of Egypt and asked the basic question as to why Arab Spring Revolution took place in Egypt. They concluded that Egypt was poor precisely because it has been ruled by a narrow elite that have organized society for their own benefit at the expense of the vast mass of people. Political power was narrowly concentrated and has been used to create wealth for those who possess it, such as the $70 billion fortune apparently accumulated by ex-President Mubarak. Tunisia was always using creative accounting to rebase their economic growth and GDP until Bouazizi Arab Spring, which led to the demise of Pan-Africa. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, almost 3 decades ago, the Berlin Wall fell. In December 2010, Mohamed Bouazizi let himself on fire in Tunisia to protest the arbitrary expropriation of his goods and his economic future. This later on triggered the Arab Revolution. In Southern Africa, new progressive movements emerged, such as Reclaim the City in Cape Town, which is our partners, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and the Landless People's Movement in Namibia, all fighting against the neoliberal class forces and corrupt regimes. It is critical to state that the strategic formation of LPM was crucial as it provided strategic, intellectual, and programmatic history and agenda for the state to focus on rural and urban periphery in the context of considering their voice. So the most basic question is, what is this cycle of struggle and what is different about it? What are the challenges and contradictions of this cycle of struggle in this new historical epoch? The difference within this new class struggle is the emergence of climate justice movements, Feast Must Fall movements, protest movements against sexual and gender-based violence. They were protesting here the other day, calling for the Minister of Gender Affairs to resign, and Occupy Wall Street movements, Black Lives Matter, amongst many examples. What led to many of these movements rising up so rapidly? The answers are very right, but one crucial answer could be the failure of efficient and effective...
Honorable Seibeb, on the point of order.
Oh, there is a... All right.
Yeah. No, your mic. Yes, you are on.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Let me put it clear in the mind of the speaker speaking right now and everybody. Listen here, I'm a full SWAPO member. Not belong to the landless, Charlotte boy. Tell him. Full SWAPO member. And appointed by Dr. Hage Geingob, as I'm standing here as a minister. And even though if the president removes me here, I'll still come and sit here by the vote of the majority. So it should be clear to you, honorable members, that I was not appointed by anyone, and nobody. You can demonstrate, you go high and down. I'll remain in this chair.
Thank you.
Until 2025.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honorable Seibeb, continue.
Can I continue?
I remain in this chair for sure.
Okay, please continue.
That one is not for me to answer. It's for the protest movement. Now, what led to many of these movements rising up so rapidly? The answers are varied, but one crucial answer could be the failure of efficient and effective new public value management and governance systems, which impacts negatively on the development of the country. The most painful aspect of public policy making in conditions where governing parties in an existentialist and legitimation crisis is that they, out of desperation, accept any proposal with a hope to satisfy the electorate. In order to remain in political office, policymakers tend to favor short-term policy responses. In the book entitled Edge of Chaos, Dambisa Moyo from Zambia warns that in focusing only on the gains that can be won today, the political elite ignore the cost and consequences born tomorrow. The short-termism that clouds policy making leads to politicians to embrace inferior policies. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Namibia is normally regarded as one of the most stable centers, owing to its citizens' peacefulness and understanding that there is a need to reflect on the quality of not only its democracy, but also its state of development, and to assess the ability of the government to meet economic expectations and fulfill the social aspirations of all the citizens. Regular elections does not necessarily equate to development. We must therefore assess whether elections in Namibia are linchpins and catalysts for development in view of the ruling party's inability to address social inequalities. Namibia is a perfect case of what is termed as a defective democracy. Defective democracy consists of exclusive democracy, illiberal democracy, delegative democracy, and tutelary democracy. In Namibia, the term defective democracy is used to refer to narrow-mindedness, parochial, intolerant, and nonchalant type of democratic entrenchment in our body politic. Namibia is consumed by grand corruption. The country has become a fertile ground for looting machines. Corruption emerges in weak institutionalized environment where formal institutions neither place important restrictions on politicians' actions nor make them accountable to citizens. It is a given that if corrupt officials are not dealt with in terms of existing laws and instruments, then state anti-corruption initiatives will never gain the legitimacy they need to succeed, nor facilitate development of an institutional culture within the civil service that challenges and exposes corruption. From state theory perspective, Namibia is a classic example of a resource state and corrupt state. Resource state does not necessarily imply a state with vast mineral resources. Rather, it is the state itself which is the resource. Simply put, the state is used as a material resource for self-enrichment at the expense of development. The state is the major source of spoils. Politics comes down to the struggle for the spoils of the state in a personally appropriated state. The state is the largest employer and investor. Hence, African state leaders remain a major source of resources. The theory of the corrupt state implies that the state is the arena of corruption. The corrupt state focuses on acquiring possession of public resources. In this instance, it is almost inevitable that the competition for public office will assume corrupt forms, and that if political corruption is identified as an important feature of the post-colonial state, it is rarely a dominant one. This is how patron-client relations are started in a public-private sphere. In Namibia, such networks have penetrated the state. National, regional, and local governments and state-owned enterprises procurement to the extent that only certain recycled elites benefit from lucrative tenders and state capitalism. This happened at the National Wasting Resources, NWR. As much as legal and ethical rent-seeking, such as lobbying, may benefit certain groups, these can eventually also lead to state capture and repurposing of resources. Corruption undermines the state's development agenda by diverting resources into the hands of unproductive elites. Thus, corrupt criminal cabal seek power legitimately to ensure that their criminal deeds are obscured. Recycled power elite are the transmission belt of maintaining patrimonial networks for kleptocrats. Chabal and Gallos, it's a very interesting book, this one. In Africa Ways, this author as political instrument maintained that power in Africa is weakly institutionalized and remains essentially personalized and particularistic. The power elite use well-structured network of people located in government, state institutions, state-owned enterprises, private businesses, security agencies, traditional leaders, family networks, and the governing party. They further went to explain that the defining feature of membership of this group is direct access to the inner sanctum of power to influence decisions.
Honourable Member,
The ruling
you might want to continue tomorrow, your intervention.
tomorrow is,
Yes.
I can continue from where I left off.
How much more?
Or I can continue tomorrow.
Yes. Let's continue tomorrow. Yeah, time is against us.
Let him finish, Honorable Speaker.
Huh? I'm assuming that you've got more to go. So we continue tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a lecture.
The House stands adjourned until tomorrow, the usual time.